I want to introduce Theresa Kinney. She's the NASA SEWP Director of Operations and Communications at NASA, and she works closely with the supply chain risk management and cyber risk with NASA on behalf of SEWP. And Theresa and I go back, feels like not that long ago, to 2018 when we were both in the Partners program, the ACT-IAC Partners program. And I'm looking forward to this conversation, Theresa, because it's been too long since we've talked. So thank you so much for coming on my podcast.
Absolutely. I am happy you invited me. Again, like you had just pointed out, it's been a long time since you and I actually sat down and had a conversation. Way too long.
Way too long. So
yeah.
For those who haven't met you and gone through a program like we did and get to know each other a little personally, talk a bit about your background, where are you from, who you are and what you do.
So again, as Jeremy had said, I'm the Director of Operations and Communications for NASA SEWP, and I also run very closely with the supply chain risk management on behalf of SEWP and the new regulations with cybersecurity that comes down. My education is close to none of that. So I actually went to college and I came out with a business administration degree. And then my master's is in federal contracting. So neither one of them has anything to do with what I actually do. I will tell you though that I was brought into SEWP about 20 years ago. So I've been with the program about 20 years. And when I was brought over for my working capital experience. So it was all finance and everything. NASA did not have a working capital. So I worked with NASA headquarters to get this account set up. And then SEWP was the first pilot into NASA or into the working capital. And at that point, the director of SEWP, Joanne Wojtek, brought me over to run the working capital. So for about 12 years, I ran the working capital, and I went to her one day and I said, okay, I can do this stuff in my sleep. What else you got for me? So I really kind of stumbled on moving my way back up into IT and looking at the contract piece of it and what's in scope, what's not in scope, and working with the customers and stuff. And believe it or not, I actually am very good about dealing with people. So she stuck me on the operational side of the house, which I absolutely love. I will tell you, 20 years of working in one place, and there's still not a day I get up and think, oh, I got to go to work. I'm always excited. I love what I do. I'm very passionate about what I do. My one main goal is to figure out a way to help the taxpayers throughout the United States. And we're trying to figure out how to save money, how to make things easier for the procurement system, how we can help people with all the new rules and regulations that come in. And so it's funny because there's times my husband will say, so what do you got planned today? And I'm like, it doesn't matter because it never happens anyway. So it's like my days are constantly changing, and I like that piece of it. I like being flexible enough that every day is not the same.
So I'm gonna roll that back a little bit. What made you decide business administration when you went to school?
I wasn't really sure where I wanted to go. I was on the 20-year plan when getting my undergrad. I was having lots and lots of fun in those days. So I just wasn't really sure what I wanted my major to be. And so my counselor kind of said, well, why don't you go into business administration, because it kind of gives you little pieces of everything. And then you can kind of figure out where you want to go from there. And I'm very thankful for that because it really opened up a lot of doors. And it's funny because a lot of my friends were, going to school to be doctors and lawyers and everything. And they laughed at me and they said, business administration are for those kids that don't know what they're doing and they can't really accomplish any like real strict goal. And I'm like, well, I disagree with you, but okay. And it's funny now because they look at where I am and they're like, I would have no idea someone with a business administration degree would go down the path that you did. But it opens so many doors, and it kind of gives you a sneak peek on all different aspects of a company. So it kind of helps you choose on where you really want to specialize.
So then how did the federal contracting piece come in with your master's?
That was, believe it or not, I was pushed into doing that. My intent was never, ever to go get my master's. When I got the job working at NASA SEWP to bring over this working capital fund, they told me that if I was going to continue down the path that I was going, that I need my master's degree. And at that point, because they are a IT procurement vehicle, I thought, well, the best thing for me to do would be to learn and focus on federal contracting. So that is why I chose that field. And they kind of forced my hand into getting my master's. I'm not complaining at all. It was probably one of the best things that happened, but it was never in my plan. So, I think it's always important to have an open mind on where your career is going to go and really be cognizant of those doors that open up for you and kind of embrace them. So
that's fantastic. Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with you. Even I'm an IT, classical IT person, right? IT infrastructure, IT software, but even then, there's such a variety if you plan it in a way that lets you be flexible. And that's what I think I'm hearing from you is plan for the flexibility.
Oh, definitely. And that's, with everyday life. I mean, to me, any person that is so rigid that they have such a plan that they walk it through like that, I don't even know how they do it. But my personality is, I just wake up in the morning and whatever the day throws at me, I just get over it. I just walk along that path. So not really a planner. I mean, a lot of times I have like an agenda that has to be kind of followed. And I do that, but there's just so many fires that need to be put out just, really quick last minute that you have to have that flexibility in your mindset to go, okay, you know what? I can't do this right now. This has got to just take the back seat. Let me run over here and fix this, put out this fire, and I'll be back.
Sure. And that's a talent in its own, right? That not to get bogged down with all those fires, but to be, okay, no big deal. We can handle this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. At the end of the day, pretty much most of the fires are out, so I'm good.
So as you've been going through this 20-year journey, and I know you really love where you work, you've mentioned it here, and we've talked about it before. Is there something in your career though that you've witnessed that, if somebody came to you and said, Theresa, is there a change that you would recommend we make or consider? Is there something you've seen along the way that you wish would be done slightly different?
I'm so glad you asked that because it's something that I am working on with the operational piece within SEWP right now. And that is to be more transparent and not to, there's so many talented people out there nowadays. And when they're coming into the workforce, making them a welcome voice and letting them express their creativity and their knowledge and just bring what they know into the workforce, and to have the executive leadership embrace that opinion and be more transparent and listen to what they have to say. And I will tell you, it's a long journey. I've actually been working on that for about three and a half years. And it's nice now because my boss is now saying, okay, we have to be, we have to work with all these other teams and we want to hear all of their opinions and we want to brainstorm about all this stuff. But what comes out of that and diversity, what comes out of having that piece of it, it's just the most amazing ideas. And then at the end of the day, you also have buy-in. These people they've been a part of something. They have created something. And that is where I find that SEWP has an incredible retention rate of their employees. And that's even with the fact that we have, now over 100 contractors. So there's about 10 civil servants, but there's like 100 contractors. But I have some contractors that have been with SEWP for 26, 27 years because the retention is there because we give them that buy-in, the ownership of what they do and what they're bringing to the table. And I just think that is so important. And I'm really trying to build that feature within SEWP right now. And I just think if more and more companies would come to that realization that, everybody's human, everybody wants to be needed, everybody wants to be heard, and they want their place, and if you give them that, they'll give you whatever you're asking for. It's just so rewarding coming back to you as a company. But that would be something that I'm actually trying to change. How's that? That whole perception of I'm an executive, you'll do what I want. It was interesting. I was in a meeting last week, and someone in the meeting, we were talking policies and stuff, and they kind of said, not in my sandbox. When you're in my sandbox, you'll do what I say. And I thought to myself, well, it's not how I would handle business, but okay.
Well, that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, that's been a kind of conversation in government for a long time when it comes to the companies we bring on board, right? Are they a partner? Are they just doing what we tell them to do? And the value you get from partnership is so huge when they feel like they are real contributors and can help you. You know, in many cases, it's funny, right? The companies, sure, they're there. The companies are there to make money, but the people who are doing the participation also have equally, in my experience at least, that desire to do public service and make things better.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's just amazing the work we get out of these people. It's just, the stuff they produce is just amazing. So to me, it's a win-win.
Hey, we like win-wins. We'll take them.
Everywhere we can get them.
That's right. So where do you see things going for you here in the near future, and also for the program? In fact, before we end, you should definitely give your elevator pitch for why government agencies should leverage SEWP. This is a great opportunity. But where do you see things going into the future?
So I will tell you, so SEWP, just a really quick elevator pitch on that. SEWP is a acquisition vehicle that all federal agencies can use. I will tell you, like GSA or NIH, we're just another vehicle, just another choice that they decide, hey, I'm going to buy my IT needs there. And when I say needs, I'm talking products, software, I'm talking cloud, I'm talking any service that is related to anything IT in scope. So you can have a straight service type of agreement as long as what they're doing or working on is in scope of the contracts themselves. Then you can have that service. So a perfect example of that would be if I'm looking for people to come in and do a full audit of my Oracle network. I can just have those people come in and do the audit because Oracle falls within scope of the contracts. So that service falls within scope of the contracts itself. So we really are a full solution. I will tell you that every federal agency uses these contracts right now. The fee, it's very, very minimal. It's 0.34%. That's less than 0.5% of what GSA is charging. So it's really not that much that we're charging, but that fee is what runs our office. NASA does not supplement any of the funds that do the operational costs, nor do we give money to NASA. And that includes the 10 civil servants that work within that office. We cover all labor, everything. So that 0.34%, which is a very low percentage, but that covers all operational costs within SEWP. What we strive to do is give the best service, best information we can give to the federal COs, the contracting officers, KOs, if you're in the military, purchase agents, or even corps that are out there making IT purchases. We try to give them all of the data that they need as far as, TAA compliant and approved reseller, where the supply chain risk management is coming from. I mean, it's just a plethora of information that we can give them so they can make the best decision on what they're looking to buy. So
that's amazing.
And where I see us, let's see. The contracts themselves will be expiring April 30th, 2025. So I know I'm talking year 22 here. But keep in mind, it takes us about 3 years to do a full competition when we set up the next I'm going to say it, the next session of contracts. How's that? Reiteration. There you go, of contracts. Sorry. So I do know that we are kind of starting the SEWP 6, like thinking about what kind of proposal we want to put out there. Or RFP out there for the public to look at and stuff. So we are beginning to start down that path of looking at SEWP 6. I would, if for anybody who's listening to this and they're thinking, oh, SEWP 6, and which we already get questions, I wouldn't look for anything until 23. But just to note that it is in the back of our minds that we do need to start working on it. And believe it or not, Jeremy, I am really only 7 years from retiring myself. And so I really kind of hope to get like SEWP 6 up and running and moving, and then we'll see what happens. You know, I don't know. And like I said, if you're having fun, it's not really work. And so when you start talking retirement, you start thinking, oh my gosh, what would I do if I retired? So I guess that's where I am. I'm truly enjoying the ride that I'm on right now. I love what I do. I love where we're going. I love the purpose that we give to the federal government and the American people. I mean, to me, that's the most important, is where we're saving the American people money.
That's amazing. Well, Theresa, thank you so much for sharing about NASA SEWP. I've worked at organizations where we highly leverage it. It's a fantastic vehicle. And thank you for sharing more about yourself. This has been a great conversation, and I look forward to talking to you again in the future.
Well, thank you for having me, Jeremy. I really appreciate it.